Hi everyone, welcome. These two systems that you see here, I was gonna feed them tomorrow. They were on the schedule for tomorrow. I've already done a feeding today in a video, but when I went in there to update the records for the feeding I did earlier, I noticed that these two systems were now 100 days of age today. So I figured, well, you know, even though they're written in to be fed tomorrow, so technically they are the next bins to be fed sequentially anyway. It was really just a matter of getting them out here on the bench one day earlier than originally planned so that we can be with them on their 100th day in service. So happy 100 days of service, original Red Wiggler wormies. The last feeding 13 days ago was feeding number 9, so another round number for day 100 is their 10th feeding going in today. So the coffee filters that I just removed from the middle here were kind of sunken down. They were indicating where we last fed, and that sunken down relief of the surface was settling, depletion, consumption of food, all signs of good stuff going on here. And we're already starting to bump into a good many worms down here in the feeding zone. I've seen some tomato skins. This here, I don't know, banana stem, pretty much falling apart. This is cantaloupe melon rind, and possibly other leftovers. This is interesting. This is the half of a mango seed where the inside has been long depleted, and the other half is probably floating around in bin number 1. Oh, we usually start in bin number 1 and make our way to bin number 2, but I somehow ended up in bin number 2 over here first. So here's a pumpkin stem, here's that cut in half mango seed husk. The other stuff, the tomato skins, cantaloupe rinds, banana bits. We're not going to worry too much about that other stuff, I guess. This might be another chunk of pumpkin stem from that piece right there, or from perhaps a different piece, a separate piece. I believe it's more pumpkin stem, and here's even more. I forgot that these original Red Wigglers were really busy working on pumpkin stems for us. Alright, well, let's just open up these feeding zones a little bit more. Make sure we've got space enough for the feeding going in today. Not that it's a really huge feeding or anything. It's got the customary day's worth of coffee for each system. That includes 2 new filters, so these old filters can go in to the feeding zones as a supplementary bedding. And what you see here is corn that didn't taste too good, so it got cut off the corn cobs. Then the corn cobs, I shredded them in my little mini blender, and unusually the kernels are still here, but the corn cobs themselves have been long composted down in the worm bins in the form of that flaky stuff. If the corn cobs had just been thrown in here without being ground up that way, then believe me, they would not have made a lot of progress yet. They would just be sitting here. But making them into small, minute particle size fragments, flakes, enabled me to include them with a few feedings at some point not too long ago, and soon afterwards there was pretty much no sign of it. I would say at the next feeding already there was really no sign of this stuff. So grinding it up really makes it go away quick. Not grinding it, I don't know, I've even got a day counter for the corn cobs that are in one of my pairs of systems, and I think we're approaching 300 days already soon. Probably about less than a week and a half or so from day 300 on those, and they're still holding together. Not much, there's not much left of them. They're pretty worn down at this point at day 300, but they're still there. So let's make sure we don't forget all these old objects. Half of a mango seed, a pumpkin stem, 1 pumpkin stem. Surprise, we found so much pumpkin stem over in bin number 2. I figured there'd be more of it here in bin number 1. But maybe we just didn't really go looking around thoroughly enough. I just figured I'd probe a little bit near the edge. Perhaps there was still some other things, but you know, it really makes no difference. Sometimes I kind of talk myself into believing that there's more worm activity where all the foods are going to be, and I think as long as things are kept damp, they probably do pretty good either way. And you know what? Check this out. This stuff has been sitting out here on my bench for so long. Strips of coconut flavored with caramel, so there's got to be a bunch of sugar in these. And gosh, I don't even know. These things have probably been sitting down here on my bench for at least half a year, and I just almost started getting used to them just being here. So it was just a moment ago I looked at them and I'm like, what is this? And it's like, oh, it's been sitting here on your bench for months and months and months. Well, I think the idea was to give it to the worms, so at least that's a done deal now. I hope they like it. Oh, and it smells so good. Gotta love that caramel scent. So, since we've given the old coffee filters that were the old feeding zone indicators a promotion, getting included down in the delicious feeding at this point, rather than just having to sit out on the top surface, now we can bring in, check these out. These are the last two remaining objects from my garden last year. They've been in the freezer for a very long time, in case you can't tell, and they were cucumbers. And finally, getting rid of this corn. Kind of a out of the ordinary feeding, but I had these oddball items that have just been sitting around here, and I figured, well, if I'm going to wait for some special worm bin feeding to do away with those last few cucumbers out of my garden, then, well, which systems deserve it the most? Well, of course, it's the original red wigglers, right? And you know, I didn't even put any bedding in there other than the reused old feeding zone indicator. But I think a good substitute for that is what we're doing now by blending in all the leafy matter that had just been sitting out here on the surface into the bedding. And I guess what we could do is make the inclusion of a little bit more surface applied leafy matter as the bedding portion for today, even though perhaps it'll be bedding that they can't really make very good or much use of right away. But it'll be in their seasoning, and next time we'll blend it in just like we're blending in the stuff we applied last time, 13 days ago. And everything feels very nice. Moisture levels seem right on, pretty much ideal. And blending in all this leafy matter just makes it seem so nice, you know. It already flakes apart even though it's nice and damp. But even having more leafy material mixed in is going to help the stuff maintain even more of a crumbly, loose nature. And it'll get all damp and the worms will start nibbling on it. And we're going to have ourselves a couple really nice systems here. So, I think that's pretty much what we're after right there. And, you know, I had my prepared bedding here on the side. We could have included it in the feeding, but I kind of forgot, and I figured I'm not going back now. And the fact that we put the old feeding zone indicators in there technically does mean we did give some sort of supplementary bedding, even though it wasn't much, but something did get put in there to accompany the feeding. And now in can come a little bit more top dressing. It did feel to me like after stirring things around here and aerating, like the level has come up considerably. So I know that it'll settle, but I like to leave myself a little breathing room, a little space to be able to nudge stuff back and forth. And well, these top covering newspapers are still holding out well enough for this last deployment, but I've got a feeling next time we come back in here, they're going to be ready for a replacement as well. But for now, this seems like a pretty good setup. So that's it. 100 days in service, feeding number 10, going in for the original red wigglers, finally getting rid of the last of the cucumber from my last year's garden. Finally getting rid of a bag of coconut chips that I had totally like started blocking out visually and not even realizing it was there, and for some reason took greater note of it today and decided, well, I think it's time has come, and the time has come for me to go get cleaned up, put things away. But I'm not going to keep you around for that. That's boring. Before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.